Hey there from Unity of Ukaipa. So I'm re-recording our Sunday service because our live stream tanked. So anyway, here, we're back with a video on our Sunday lessons for the live streams that we missed. But we've just started going through this book, The Art of Abundance by Dennis Merritt Jones. It is 10 Rules for a Prosperous Life, and it is so good. Okay, it is so good. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. So today we're starting this. We'll be starting with rule number 1, and I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. But first of all, I want to talk about the difference between abundance and prosperity. Because we often get this idea that abundance and prosperity both are all the stuff that we collect. Like all the stuff I want. When I get all the stuff I want, then I can be happy. But that means that we're always going to be depending on something outside of ourselves to make us happy. And if you're like me, you maybe had something you really wanted, and you knew if you would get this thing, it would make you so happy and your life would be perfect. And then you get it, and maybe you are happy for a little while. And then all of a sudden, it's not new anymore, and now there's something else that you want. And it's the thing that's going to make you so happy, right? So the difference between abundance and prosperity is that abundance is a practice. It's a principle of more than enough. More than enough of whatever it is you can imagine. More than enough brilliant ideas. More than enough love. More than enough support. More than enough divine direction. Okay? So it's something we practice. Prosperity is the demonstration. It's what we have manifested. So abundance then is a consciousness. Abundance is a way of living, where prosperity basically shows in your life what you were just thinking about creating. Okay, so when you have faith in something, you have faith in God that something will be made so, and then it is made so. That is the demonstration. So abundance is the cause of the effect of our life, which is prosperity. Okay, prosperity is an effect, right? So we are the cause, and then the effect is our life. So the power here is knowing which one comes first. Okay, the cause comes first. Abundance being a way of thinking and acting in our world, abundance being a consciousness that we have, it's always going to be the cause. And so that's what we want to give our attention to, not the effects in our life, because if we don't change our way of thinking and acting, we will still keep creating the same situations, right? You've heard that. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting, right? And so abundance, we want to have a really good abundance consciousness. Now, in personal growth circles, what this might look at, serving the cause, paying attention to the cause rather than the effect, would be like knowing what your goal is, but doing the work to get to your goal. Do all that with joy, right? Do that with happiness, because that's ultimately where we're getting the experience. We're creating an experience, but we want to have a good time while we're doing that. So we don't want to just be focused on the goal. It's actually the experience of getting to the goal where we will have so much fulfillment and satisfaction. Okay, so rule number 1, it's about the power of being one with life. Okay, one with life. We talk about this all the time in Unity, being one with life. Now here's the premise. I'm going to read it. It's from the book. The premise from Dennis Merritt Jones. As the awareness of your oneness with the universe deepens, you will begin to see through new eyes. Everywhere you look, you will find the principle of abundance operating. Now in Unity, what we say is God is all things, right? And the reason we say this is because God is all things. Everything came from the original source. God is not just the substance of all things, God is the movement and the creation of all things. It's an infinite supply. Infinite supply. So it is more than enough. Right? It's more than enough. The all, okay, God knows no lack or limitation. The all knows no restriction. Just an infinite expansion, right? In the all, okay, in God, in source energy, is the potential for anything, right? Anything to exist. And so it's the secret to life is basically it's in our DNA, right? That this infinite potential to work through us, right? God is working through us, for us, as us, through every cell of our body. The source energy is seeking to create through us. Of course, we get to choose how we create. Okay, that's on us. So here's the problem, okay, also from the book. The belief in not enough dominates the minds and behaviors of most people. Because we look separate, we believe we must be separate. And it's true, you know. We do believe in separation. Like I see myself here, and yet I see like my mom is like way over there, my husband's way over there, my dog, you know, is just like right here on my feet. Okay, but it feels like separation because we do look different from each other. But this idea in society, right, is propagating this, right, that there's separation, that our good is outside of us, our good is over there. And of course, and even in advertising, this can look like your stuff is over there, and you got to be careful because somebody's going to get your stuff. So you want to get your stuff before someone else gets your stuff. Now, if you look at every act of greed in this world, every act of greed in this world, or corruption, or dishonesty, manipulation, it all comes from a belief in not enough, right? Every act. The well-being that we experience when we are aligned with the divine within, it gives us, it inspires us with solutions and opportunities. So to get more into our lives, to experience more than enough, we're not taking it from someone else, right? We're not taking it from someone else. But this idea of not enough, there's not enough, okay, this is where corruption comes in and the dishonesty, because they will believe, these corporations, these people will believe they have to take it from someone else. Or they'll propagate this idea of somebody is going to get your stuff. So you need to get down here right away for our sale before it's all gone. Okay? This is why big government or big corporations, they'll squash the little guy because they don't want the little guy taking their stuff. I always think of the story of the car. I don't know if you saw the movie Tucker, A Man and His Dream. And this man invented this car that was just remarkable. Well, the big auto companies pushed him out of business. They squashed him, right? Because he was offering something affordable and powerful and wonderful. Big corporations, when they're focused on manipulation and their greed is their like driving force, they're not coming up with new ideas. They're not coming up with new solutions. Okay? But Tucker was tapping into a creative flow and he created that wonderful car. It is a belief in lack that suppresses the natural urge to express and expand. The belief in lack the belief in lack suppresses the natural urge to express and expand. And this is where we get solutions from. This is where we get inspiration from. Right? This is where we notice new opportunities. So if we are under the belief in lack, we miss out on all that. And of course, we ourselves, we may turn to manipulation or control issues to try to get from someone else, right? So we don't learn how to do things in a new way when we are under the belief of lack and restriction. And this is true for big corporations too, not just us as individuals, but big corporations, right? They'll also miss out on doing things in a brand new way when they are under that belief of lack and restriction. Now, because we live in an infinite universe, the universe is infinite, that means there will always be more than enough. Always be more than enough. Always. It's the law. There will always be more than enough creative ideas, more than enough inspiration, energy for co-creating, joy, love, courage, strength, wisdom, imagination. There will always be more than enough. But we have to live in faith to access all that, right? We have to live in faith, to trust, because conditions will always represent or always demonstrate something other than that, right? If we are in lack consciousness, we will look to conditions and see the lack in our own life. So we have to live in faith, and then we have to act in faith to move beyond the conditions. All right, so from Michael Bernard Beckwith, he said this: if you believe it, if you can see it, if you can act from it, it will show up for you. And that's the truth. Okay, that's Michael Bernard Beckwith. We have to believe it, we have to see it, we have to act from it. So we have to believe it. We have to believe that God is all things, and that God is the source of our supply, and that the substance is infinite, which means that it never runs out. There's always more source energy. So there's always potential. There's always possibility. So we have to believe it. Then we have to see it. But what we're seeing is we're seeing God at work in all things, right? We're not looking at limiting conditions. We are seeing God at work in all things. We are seeing the abundance of God in our lives. We already all have an abundance of good in our lives. We just don't always pay attention to it. So we believe it first by seeing God in all things. We see it by also seeing God in all things. And then we act from it. Okay, we act from it. And we act from it because we're in faith, and we get inspired, we get divinely directed to do the next best thing. And when we get inspired, that feels really good, right? And then we want to follow that vibe. We want to follow that vibe and keep moving on that, because then we'll be guided to do the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And this helps us to retrain our minds, okay? Remember, our mind loves a step-by-step process, okay? So we want to learn to stop acting in fear, right? Stop fretting over conditions. Where's my stuff? I don't have my stuff, so I'll never be happy because I don't have my stuff. We want to retrain our mind to believe it, see it, and act on it. Now, the principle behind this law is that prosperity begins as pure substance of possibility, and we practice remembering it. Okay, that's it. Eventually, it stops feeling weird, but it might feel weird at first, okay? But if we just keep practicing this, right? Believe it, see it, act on it, right? Pretty soon it's going to be second nature for us. Okay, when we focus on abundance, right? Focus on abundance. There's more than enough. There's more than enough brilliant ideas. There's more than enough inspiration, right? Then we're creating prosperity. Then we're demonstrating the prosperity in our lives. Now here's the practice, and this is from the book. As a universal principle, abundance is omnipresent and therefore available to us every moment of the day. The challenge is that we are not always present and available to abundance, right? We're not. Now this is where the practice of mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is remembering to remember. The practice is calling our thoughts back into the spiritual truth that God is all things, and that means each of us, right? There's that spiritual truth. Now, I like to just look at my feelings. How am I feeling? Because I will know I'm not in alignment with my inner being if I'm feeling terrible and frustrated and restricted and in lack consciousness and thinking somebody else has my stuff and how unfair it is because somebody else has my stuff. And so I'm upset. Maybe I'm ashamed. Maybe I'm all judgmental. Okay? How do we feel? Now, if we feel that way, of course, we're not in the flow of more than enough. We're not in the flow of life. We're fighting against the flow of life. And think about how we want to feel, right? How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel? Well, I want to feel excited, and I want to be in the flow of life and have these creative ideas. I want to become solution oriented, and I want to have awareness of when these opportunities are opening up around me, right? I want to get excited. I want to get curious about life. I want to follow the vibe. I want to follow the vibe. Okay, now this is from Henry David Thoreau. You must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find your eternity in each moment. Fools stand on their island of opportunities and look toward another land. There's no other land, there's no other life but this. Okay, Henry David Thoreau, right? We have to be here and aware. Right? How am I feeling right now? Be here and aware. And then we get ourselves excited when we get in the flow of life, when we are in faith and being divinely directed, right? We launch ourselves on that wave. That's the wave we're launching ourselves on. We're in faith and we have just been given the next thing to do. Okay? And it might feel scary. It'll probably feel scary because when we act on faith, we're always moving out of our comfort zone. Okay, so it'll probably be scary, but follow the vibe. Okay, follow the vibe. How do you want to feel? Okay, follow the vibe. Okay, so here's the payoff, right? Here's the payoff. Freedom. Freedom. We believe in ourselves. We believe in what works through us. We live in abundance and demonstrate prosperity. Okay, it's our belief in our oneness with the all and that there is more than enough, and this sets us free. Okay, there's more than enough. We don't have to depend on conditions. We don't have to wish something good would happen. We don't have to have a knight in shining armor come to our rescue and bring us our stuff. No. When we believe in ourselves and what it is that is working through us, for us, as us, we experience that abundance. That more than enough sets us free. So here is our call to action for this week. We'll start with our affirmation. I live in an unlimited flow of abundance. Right? One more time. I live in an unlimited flow of abundance. Yes, our thinking mind likes these rules to follow. And our thinking mind has to be established in the belief of more than enough. Right? In order for us to create prosperity in our lives, right? Our thinking mind has to be established in the idea that we can do anything, that we can have anything, that we can create anything, right? Because all of that follows under the idea of more than enough. Now here is the invitation. Okay, remember it's in our DNA to keep expanding the good and to do greater things. It's actually in our DNA. We have within us a divine program, right? Like in the wee acorn is the divine program to grow into the mighty oak tree. Within each of us is the divine program to do greater things, to expand our territory, to call forth greater and greater good, right? That's within us already, right? But we've got to like establish our mind in this belief, right? And we can do that by believing it, believing God is all things and there's more than enough. We see it, right? See how God shows up in our lives in different ways, how solutions pop up, right? And see the abundance that's already here, right? The prosperity that's already here. And so we see it, we believe it, and we act in it, right? And we act from it. We take action. We do the next best thing, right? When we don't do this, that's when we feel terrible, right? We feel terrible because it's in our divine programming to be doing all this. And we are moving away from our authentic self when we are in the belief of lack and restriction and not enough. Okay, so here, we can ask ourselves first, how am I feeling? How am I feeling, right? What am I focusing on? That's a good thing for us to know. What am I focusing on? Am I focusing on problems? Am I focusing on how, people are going crazy, with dramas about politics or whatever on social media? What am I focusing on? Am I focusing on how I don't have my stuff? Or am I focusing on possibilities, right? Am I focusing on like, wow, what is the next great thing I could create? How could I get curious here? Wow, what might come from that? How might God show up in this particular, circumstance? We just don't know, right? The belief, it is our belief. There's more than enough of whatever it is, right? Whatever this is that will create a sense of freedom in our lives. And what we're doing is we're moving that belief, we're moving the abundance, we're moving everything from here out into the physical world, right? We're not gathering abundance and prosperity from the physical world and bringing it into us. We are creating it from in here and sending it out. And if we don't do this, we're going to feel that separation. We're going to feel that separation. So think here about, well, what do you want? Instead of focusing on and lamenting about what you don't have and what hasn't shown up yet, right? And all your stuff that you don't have yet. Think about what you do want, right? Do you want better relationships, right? Well, there is more than enough love and compassion and understanding, right? So we believe it, we see it, we act on it, right? There are other people have wonderful relationships, and if it's been done, it can be done, right? There are already people in our lives that if we commit and we pour love and compassion into those relationships, we create deeper relationships. Maybe what we want is better health or well-being, okay? Believe it, see it, act on it, okay? There are more than enough ideas and support moving us in the direction of well-being. Okay, there's meditation and there's tapping, right? That you do the tapping. Okay, do the tapping. That's all very supportive. And there are people who know things about healing. And when we start thinking about how there's more than enough support to get me to better health and well-being, well, then we start meeting people who maybe have something to offer. Okay, more than enough money, right? Well, there's more than enough ideas and inspiration on things we can do to increase our incomes, right? To bring more money into our lives. Now, we live in a universe of unlimited abundance, right? That's how it operates. Okay, the universe, that's how it operates. Unlimited abundance, right? Through expansion. And it expands possibility, potential, right? Source energy through any available channel. Any available channel. And that's where it's on us. Okay, we have to be an available channel. Okay, we got to be available for all this good, right? Everything that we see, right? There is so much more. Okay, all the good you see, there's so much more good that's available to you. There's so much more than you can even imagine that you are capable of. You're capable of calling it forth and into your life, even on your very best day, the best day that you've ever had. There's so much more. There's so much more that is available to you to be called forth through you, for you, as you. Okay, so much more than you can even imagine. But we have to believe it, we have to see it, and we have to act on it. And we have to be available to it. We have to be available for source energy to work through us, for us, as us. Because that is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are divinely designed. It is literally in your DNA to be doing all of this stuff. And everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. Thank you.